every season in Fortnite, Epic Games does a pretty decent job at updating the map or adding map changes, and these are typically very apparent and evident. You can simply look at the map when there's a new season and see all of the new named locations. These are known as POIs or point of interest. However, Season 2 in Fortnite Chapter 2 has not necessarily followed that trend. Now, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a lot of new map changes that are very evident simply by looking at the map. However, Epic has decided to be very discreet and almost silent with a lot of the changes they have made. And if I'm being quite honest, you really have to look deep, and some of these are minor details that you might not have noticed. And for a lot of these, the only way to even find out they exist is to either watch a video like this or even possibly accidentally stumble across them mid-game. So yes, a lot of the new map changes have been made, a lot of us know already about them, so maybe you're tired of landing at the same 10 locations every single game, or possibly you just want to see a bit more of the underlying changes that Epic Games has made to Fortnite that you're not necessarily aware of. I have scanned this map more times than I can count, and I've actually compiled some of these secret locations and maybe some minor detail changes that I've noticed that actually hold some backstory to them that I figured you guys would actually like to see. I'll also share with you guys essentially where these are located so you can explore them for yourselves and possibly find something that I was completely oblivious to. Now, coming in at number 10, we have Ferris Bueller's house, or actually it's Ferris Bueller's friend's house. If you're wondering what Ferris Bueller is, it's actually a semi-old movie where a teenager fakes being sick and skips school and actually has a blast of a day. Definitely one he will never forget. And one of the main parts of the movie is that he drives his friend's father's Ferrari. Now, it's actually located at this very exact same house in the movie, or it's at least supposed to represent it. I'm not entirely sure why Epic Games decided to add it into Fortnite, but nonetheless, I'm certainly not complaining. You guys can see it's actually located over here. It's definitely at the edge of the map, so if you're one of the players that likes to play the perimeter and then eventually make their way towards the inside circle, then this is certainly going to be your best landing location. Now, one of the things you might notice immediately is that the car is actually toppled over the side of the cliff while it appears to be attached to a crane. Now, this car is actually supposed to represent the Ferrari from the movie. At the very start of Season 2, this car was parked in the garage. The next week, it was outside, and then attached to a crane, and now we can see currently, the crane and car have both actually fallen over the side of this cliff. So I'm assuming Epic Games is just kind of having like a really mini side quest or storyline over here that we can follow every single week to see essentially what is happening with this house and car alike. Now, if I'm being quite honest, there's not too much to the house. It's pretty simple in regards to layout. You guys can see it's 2 stories. There's pretty much like 1 or 2 bedrooms. However, there is a couple chest spawns as well as weapon spawns as well. So if you do end up landing here, do not worry, you will not be dry of loot. You can definitely loot the house for what it's worth and then make your way towards the inside. A lot of people are unaware this is even here and completely oblivious of to what it really represents. Again, this is Ferris Bueller's friend's house that for whatever reason Epic Games has decided to add into the game and also include kind of a mini side storyline. At number 9, we have Spawn Island. Now, Spawn Island was actually added in Fortnite with the intention of players being able to warm up. Since we're given little to no time, people take this opportunity to pickaxe each other and dance obnoxiously. However, the reason I'm including it as a secret location in today's video is because little to a majority of people's knowledge, you can actually make your way back to Spawn Island in the middle of a battle royale game. That is right, a lot of people probably did not know this, if anyone. However, it's pretty simple. All you need is a helicopter and, well, a helicopter. Simply, you can fly the helicopter back towards the direction of Spawn Island, which is over here by the lighthouse or the shark. You can actually keep flying and flying and flying. Eventually, you'll reach like a barrier where you actually go into first person, which is weird in of itself. And then eventually, as you make your way towards Spawn Island, you'll go back to third person and you'll recognize that you can actually land here, and the entire island is actually interactive, meaning you can pick up weapons, ammo, search ammo boxes, as well as collect materials whilst you're here. Now, I'm not entirely sure if Epic Games intended for this to happen. It would actually be pretty neat, and I certainly would appreciate that they added this if they were intending to do this. However, if they were not, definitely take advantage of it now while you still can. And don't worry, you can easily make your way back as long as you still have the helicopter and just fly over back to the main island. You'll now have a full inventory of loot from Spawn Island. You'll have absolutely 0 eliminations because nobody was there, but you'll also have a decent amount of materials as well. So try this out. You can certainly shock your friends if you just flew over here without them knowing that this was even a thing. And at number 8, we have Deadpool's cabin, otherwise known as basically the secret teddy bear cabin. Now, at first glance, this just looks like your average cabin in Fortnite. However, as you enter it, you guys can see it's still your average cabin. But when you make your way over to this bookcase right here, you can actually see that it is interactive and you're able to open it. As you open it, it slides open and you can actually use this as a pretty decent hideout in this small little, I guess, room or closet, if you will. And then you can also make your way down here through this little gap or hole. As you guys can see, once you make your way down here, there is an entire underground lair, I suppose you could call it. Again, a lot of people are referring to this as Deadpool's cabin. However, it's also known as the teddy bear cabin because, as you guys can see, you're greeted with a clan or a group of teddy bears holding a meeting. One of the things that I find to be pretty cool that Epic Games added is that they've actually taken capture, or hostage rather, of a gnome who was locked up on a chair. Now, I don't know about you guys, but every time I come down here, I do the very courteous action of opening the door, allowing the gnome to make his own escape. So this is one of the other little mini storylines that Fortnite has actually had for quite some time now. Essentially, we all know that the teddy bears have always been located around the map very randomly, along with gnomes as well. Fortnite has done the justice of essentially creating a storyline between the two. As we can see, they obviously do have some tension to the point that the teddy bears are literally capturing the gnomes and holding them hostage. Now, in regards to what this entails for the future of the storyline, I am entirely unsure and we'll have to wait and see what unfolds. Regardless of the storyline, this is still a great location in of itself. You can find loot down here, you can also even hide down here. Let's say you don't have a lot of health or mats at the end of a game or even middle of a game, and assuming the other opponents don't know this is here, you can relatively be safe. In at number 6, we have Retail Row's Secret Bases. Now, this one actually plays a huge part into the storyline, and if you're completely unaware of the storyline, then this won't mean much to you. To give you a quick 15-second rundown, essentially there's two agencies. There's the Shadow Agency and the Ghost Agency. And you guys probably have already seen all of the henchmen that represent the two. There's indisputable tension between the two, and they have reached the point of spying on each other. Now, in Retail Row, there's actually two shops sat side by side with banners hanging over the top. One quote-unquote store is representing the ghost and the other one is representing the shadow. Now, both of these stores are actually decoys, and we can tell this by once we enter each of the stores, we're literally greeted by nothing other than a counter, an empty room, and some pots and plants, which I'm assuming are simply just for decoration. Now, upon further inspection, you guys can see that there actually is a bit more to these quote-unquote stores. Once you enter the back rooms, you guys can see that this is actually where the agencies pretty much handle all of their back-end business. One of the things I liked a lot and noticed was that over here to the right store, there's actually a telescope going through the air vent to pretty much spy on the other store. I don't know about you guys, but I thought this is actually a pretty funny detail. Then as we make our way to the other agency store, we can see it's essentially the exact same thing. An empty room with a counter and pots and plants for decoration. And also you guys can see you can enter the back room, and obviously this is where they handle all of their back-end business as well. Now, they have not taken the opportunity and easy chance to spy on the other agency through the air vent. However, I still think this little detail is completely comedic considering the fact that you can see the telescope on either side. Now, it does not end there. Once you guys make your way through the back of the store, you can see that they both have telescopes set up on either side of the barrier or border between the two, and the telescopes are literally touching. Obviously, this spying technique is of zero use in practicality, but Epic Games included it regardless for a huge comedic value. Now, the next 4 locations, number 6, number 5, number 4, and number 3 are pretty similar in their own aspects, and these are essentially larger than life and upscaled pieces that Epic Games has added in the map themselves. Some of these are integrated in the map themselves, they'll never be able to be moved or destroyed. However, some of them are actually things that you can break and interact with. Now, the reason I'm including all 4 of these in the same segment of today's video is just because, again, I feel like they represent or have at least some similarities. Starting with, at number 6, being this entirely large human or person that is made out of metal and steel pipes. Now, this is on the very edge of the map, so despite its size, you would assume it's hard to miss. However, with it being located at the very perimeter and edge of the map, it is definitely something that you'll only find by complete accident. Now, obviously we can tell by its larger than life and huge upscale size, this is something that is pretty unique and cool that Epic Games has added in the map itself. Now, when this was first added in Season 2, this steel person was actually sat on the side of the cliff looking off in the distance. Then the following week, he had turned his head to look towards the right, which if you guys were to kind of run over in this direction, you would would see that he actually turned his head to look over to these ice glaciers, or whatever you like to call them, off in the distance. Now, it has been teased in the past time and time again that glaciers would actually make their way to Fortnite's main island and create a huge destruction, and obviously would then be integrated as part of the map. Could this possibly be a teaser that this will be soon to come, following possibly into Season 3, or do you guys think people are looking a bit too much into this? Now, as we can see, the steel figure has actually made his way up, and he is now walking over in that direction with what appears to be a wooden walking stick. With it still being relatively early in Season 2, we can't assume entirely what he is doing or where he's making his way towards, but obviously as the season unfolds and weeks pass by, we'll be able to see essentially what his destination is. And this could either play a part in the storyline itself or be once again another side story that Epic Games has decided to add. At number 5, we have once again one of these large upscaled additions in the map, and this is going to be over at the Grotto. The Grotto is a location where essentially the henchmen are located. We have the agency and we have the Grotto. These are essentially the two main landing locations for both agencies. Now, I've been to the Grotto more times than I can count for a separate video, and it took me some time, literally about the 20th or 30th time landing here, to realize that it is actually representing a huge skull. If you guys make your way over to the side of the cliff, you guys can see that the Grotto is actually shaped out as a skull, and you can actually make your way inside of the Grotto through the skull's eyes or a nose. Now, this doesn't necessarily hold too much value or backstory to it. I just thought it was pretty neat and definitely a great addition and worthy mention of today's video. And unfortunately, unlike the steel figure, you cannot actually interact with the skull. It's not unbreakable. It is actually integrated within the map itself. At number 4 is something not as large as the previous two, but something I think that is pretty neat, and this is going to be located over in Fatal Fields. Now, over here at the entrance of Fatal Fields, you guys can actually see that you are greeted by a person made out of hay barrels. Unfortunately, he doesn't hold any backstory as well, just like the skull. However, it is a pretty cool addition that he is here to greet all of the new entries to Fatal Fields. Now, the hay barrel person is also an interactive edition of Fortnite, like the steel figure. You guys can see that you can break it, but there's not anything underlying. At number 3, this is the final portion of the larger than life section of today's video, and this is going to be the shark. Now, obviously this is a point of interest on the map, so it's pretty difficult to not come here at least once to see what was added on Fortnite. So yes, probably about half the people watching today's video are aware of what this is. However, I figured it was worth putting in today's video. Definitely a worthy mention in of itself. And basically this entire island over here is shaped like a shark. First of all, we have the shark's head or mouth or whatever you like to call it that you can enter and actually loot. And then over at the backside is actually the shark's tail. Now, if I had to guess on what my take was of this, it appears that a megalodon shark has actually swum through this island and is now converted into a fossil over the period of time. Now, I'd be lying to myself and the viewers if I said this is not one of my favorite locations that Epic Games has added into Season 2 of Fortnite. I just think it's extremely cool that they have integrated a shark with an island, and on top of that you can explore it for what it is worth and actually loot and make your way out of here with a pretty decent inventory. Now, at number 2 is something I stumbled across actually relatively recently while trying to make a video. And this is going to be like a lone chest over here in the middle of the ocean. Now, this is going to be located between Grotto and Steamy Stacks on like the edge of the map, literally the shore of this beach. Now, as stated, I accidentally realized this is actually part of the map whilst making a video. I made my way all the way over here trying to find a boat, and I realized in the distance I could see like a glowing figure in the water. I figured it was a buoy, I believe they're called. However, I decided to look a bit further and make my way over here to realize that this is actually a secret or rare chest sitting on top of this pole in the middle of the ocean. I'm not sure if there's a bit more to represent here. As we can see under the water as well, we have kind of like a stack of cars and trucks. Again, I'm not entirely sure what this represents, if anything, but I certainly am not going to be one to complain of a rare chest spawn. Now, I came back here a couple times and I recognized that you don't always get one of these rare chests. In fact, sometimes you'll just get a regular chest here. However, it is a 100% spawn rate for regular chest, and majority of the time you guys will actually see that you do in fact get the rare chest, which is going to offer you guys a guaranteed purple or golden weapon out of it. So if you guys want to start the game off over here in the perimeter, isolated from everybody, and lower your chances of getting eliminated, whilst increasing your chances of getting a guaranteed purple and golden item in the game, then this is your best bet. And considering the fact that a boat spawns here at all times, you definitely can make your way back to the middle of the map or circle before time runs out. You can also make your way over to the yacht and explore this, and then take the helicopter and fly over into the middle of the map. Do not worry, this is a great landing location, and you guys can explore a bit further and maybe find something under the ocean like the stack of cars that I did not know about that would explain a bit more of what this entire location is to represent. Now at number 1 of today's video is actually something I'm sure pretty much everyone watching today's video does not know exists, and I'm sure majority of the players by the end of the season, when it is long gone, would be completely unaware that this ever took place in Fortnite. Now this is not like a huge building or little secret location that can be explored. It's actually a very minor detail that Epic Games has added into the game for realistically a very unknown reason. As I mentioned, Season 2 has a lot of very minor details and discrete additions or updates to the map itself, and this is by no means an exception to that trend. Now what I'm talking about is these very mini like gummy slime fungus things that I'm not sure what they are that are actually added at certain parts of the map, and they for whatever reason seem to be traveling the map as well. One week they're over sitting on a rock dancing, and now they're actually inside of an air vent. Again, I have zero clue what this represents or what it means. Maybe it's just something really funny that we have to follow and see where they're going. They might even lead us to something a bit more secret that we were unaware of. But again, as weeks pass by, they make their way from one point of the map to another, and hopefully as weeks unfold and the Season 2 comes to an end, we'll be able to see where the final destination is. As of right now, there's not much to be known about these little slime guys, but hopefully in the future, a bit more will unfold and make a bit more sense. I personally am hoping that this is also going to be yet again another little side storyline that Epic Games has added so much to in the season. Again, we have the Ferris Bueller's house where the car is playing a huge part of this little storyline, and then we have also the agency storyline where they're now in Retail Row spying on each other with fake decoy stores. We also have the huge steel pipe figure that is actually making his way over what appears to be towards to get a better look at the glaciers that possibly might play a bigger part in the storyline. And now we have these slime guys that are actually traveling the entire map itself. So that's all for the 10 secret map changes that Epic Games has added into Fortnite. Let me know what was your favorite one down below, and if you find today's video enjoyable or entertaining, a like would be appreciated. And of course, on the contrary, if you genuinely dislike today's video, then by all means feel free to leave a dislike as well. And of course, if you're new around here and would like to see more daily Fortnite content like this in the future, feel free to subscribe as well as turning on those post notifications. Nonetheless, my name is EndingGamertag. Thank you all for watching today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow. Adios.